Today I'm going to be talking about migration. Migration is a pretty contentious topic, to discuss, and people have very passionate views regarding the subject. It is quite baffling to note that people in Western societies want to close off their borders. It is quite baffling. Why would people in Western society be predisposed to wanting to have closed off borders when they are the authors of this whole globalization thing? Because globalization is a Western ideal. The West trusts itself upon the whole world. And now the world is trying to integrate with the West. People in Western countries are saying, no, where my country gone? Keep those people away from me. But those are the same people whom your ancestors subjugated so that you could have that Starbucks coffee. I'm oversimplifying a very, very big subject, adding quips of what I think are humor to make it more digestible to the amount of time that we have to discuss this. But it is funny because globalization is a Western ideal. I'm going to begin with the first migrant of interest, Mr. CJR himself, Cecil John Rhodes. He came to Africa for the weather, believe it or not. His health was like failing, and his doctor advised him that if he would live in a climate, that was much warmer, more humid, it would be beneficial to his health. Either that was just an excuse or he just came here for the colonization and subjugation of my people. Well, we will never really find out about that, or the jury is still out about that, but he is the first migrant of interest I would like to discuss. He came to Africa, established his company. He was a very wealthy man. He got wealthy from his business dealings. And up to now, he has a scholarship that is running. He has trusts. There's a lot of money still in his name. That's the legacy that this migrant left. He had a dream to colonize Africa from Cape to Cairo, the whole of Africa, to be owned by the Europeans through his British South African company, That was his vision. He came here as a migrant. He forced himself through concessions like the Rad concession. He forced himself upon my people. And due to superior firepower, or maybe Lobengula was really that gullible, he ended up having control of vast swathes of land. A migrant. He was not invited. He had no visa. He had no passport. He was not there to try to save his family. He was just there for the weather and for the profit. There were also other migrants of interest, like Mr. Christopher Columbus himself. He went to America, he sailed to America, and his story really needs no retelling. His arrival to the American subcontinent brought untold ruin and the extinction of whole tribes of Indians. He forced himself on North America, and the results are still felt up to this day. Even when rednecks say, where my country gone, they mean the country that they rightfully stole from the Indians. The third migration or migrant I would like to talk about is Zheng He, or what I would like to call the Chinese approach. The Chinese really have this philosophy that they should stay as Chinese as themselves. That is their philosophy. And when Zheng He sailed, his intention was not to subjugate or take control of people. His intention was just to go and trade, see different countries, bring different goods to his native land, and that's it. He had no plan to stay, to mingle with internal affairs, and up to this day, the Chinese still keep that approach. And I would give them a pass on this issue because they still keep that approach. They say manage your own politics. If you live under a dictatorship, it's up to you to free yourself from that dictatorship. It's not up to the Chinese Communist Party or their trading partners to free you from that sort of thing. So that was Zheng He's approach. And the third migration I would like to talk about is of the Africans. the African migrants who are drowning off the coast of Libya. These migrants are economic migrants. The first group of migrants I talked about were economic migrants, also in the sense that they were seeking better economic prospect through racist means, through colonization, through subjugating people. But the African migrants, they are economic migrants, but they are going not to colonize, not as superiors. They are going to do the most menial of tasks. Why is it that their migration is viewed with such hostility? These people are victims of wars, of tribalistic activities that goes on in their countries. These people are real victims who are trying to make a change in their lives, risking life and limb to obtain that change, going through dangerous voyages. So why is it that their migration is viewed with hostility? When they arrive, they are treated with racism. When it is the West that first came to their lands, that disrupted their safety systems that were in their lands. Like in each society, there's a safety net or a social services system that has to exist for any society to survive. In African societies, there used to be what they would call communal farms, where a community would have to go and work on a sacred day, be it one Friday, the first Friday of the month or whatever, or every Friday. They would have to go and work in that communal field, and the king would take grain from the communal field. And if anybody was to go hungry, they would be fed from that communal field. When the Europeans came, they introduced money, they introduced systems of taxation. When these systems were thrust upon us, yes, some of us have adjusted, but the African mindset has not adjusted well to capitalism, because capitalism is designed to benefit the West. It was invented by the British South African Company, the Dutch East India Company. I do not mean invented, but they really were big capitalists, and they were early capitalists in the sense that they saw profit in colonizing a whole country. That was capitalism at its height. People say capitalism was at its height during the times of Cornelius Vanderbilt and all those other men who built America. But I have to say, Rhodes and the Dutch East India Company really personify capitalism. And these migrants from Africa are a side effect or a direct result of what capitalism did to this continent. So what am I saying in this video? I'm saying people have been migrating since time immemorial. From Rhodes to Shanghai to Columbus, people love to migrate and seek better opportunities. Right now, Africa is a fucking shithole. I live there, I'm here. People are really surviving on less than $1 per day, as you are told. It's really fucking shitty. And the only reason why I'm not on that boat to Benghazi is there is no war in the country that I live in currently, and I'm very appreciative of that fact. But if there was a war on top of all this poverty, I would certainly get on that boat, and that would not make me any less human than you. This is Jiggy Speaks on Migration. Peace.